Hey everybody, it's Dave Duford here at davidduford.com, where I help insurance agents like you become top producing insurance professionals. And today I'm doing another agent consultation. I'm sitting across a virtual table here with Michael. Michael, say hello to everybody out there.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you,
happy to
David.
have you on, man. So what we do in these calls, if you've never seen them before, just kind of take a question or questions that an agent has, and I do my best to try to help. So, Michael, why don't you ask your question, and we'll get right into it.
Okay, the first question I have is basically, as an agent starting out, how do you make that transition from part-time to full-time?
Yeah, so how do you go from part-time to full-time? So why don't you kind of give me your situation you're in, if you could kind of describe it as far as what you're doing full-time, what you're doing part-time, and kind of how it's been for you so far, and then I'll kind of get into some ways to transition.
Okay, so currently, I work full-time as a driver during the night, so I have the day to door knock or set appointments essentially, and so from that perspective, I have 5 days of work, and then I have 2 days off, and I usually have Thursdays and Fridays off, so I can talk to individuals or set up. Like I've been using the seminar marketing with senior centers, so that's been a great tool. So thank you for
Awesome.
that information. Uh, Tomorrow actually, but just taking that part-time aspect and just making that transition. I guess I don't understand where that point is. I would say income is one factor, right? When you make enough money that replaces your current income, but how to map that out and then getting enough business generated to be able to make that transition essentially. Like, because everything is based on currently an advance commission. There is no residual that I'm getting. So I just, probably 6 months into time.
Right, right. Yeah, so you pose a good question, and there's a couple of different ways to approach this. There's the logical money question, meaning, how much does it take to replace what you earn from your full-time job? And there's also the question of how much money should you have in the bank before you go completely solo? That's a really important question. And then there's just the kind of subjective question of, you know, jumping in with both feet, once you've
Right.
established that, because that is difficult too, right? I don't know if you're making a wage with your other job, but when you have to eat what you kill in this business,
Right.
and
Right.
it's all incumbent upon you being successful. So let's cover all of that. So the first thing would be, I want to cover the second point I made, because I think this is something that we don't talk a lot about. I don't talk about a lot in my videos, but I was in your position. I don't know how much you've watched my videos, but I got in the business part-time, scaled to full-time, failed out of the business, got a job for about a year, and started part-time again before going full-time. So I've kind of been in a similar situation. And I think one of the really important things that you have to do as a salesperson is that you have got to have a level of a comfort level. When I say comfort level, I mean, you got to have financially a bankroll. Okay. I think this is something that's really, really important. Now, some people, they do just fine. I mean, look, I got started in this business. I put all my leads on a credit card. I had credit card debt for years, so I don't advise people to do that. I just felt like that's what I had. I just went in all in,
Right.
I was going to do what was necessary. But I think that it's important that you don't get into this business full time, and you may replace your income because now you're at the point where you realize, okay, I'm pretty good at this part time, and if I just double my efforts and go full time, I'll replace my income and then some. I think that's part of the scenario we've got to answer. But the other is facing the truth. You're going to have bad weeks. You'll probably have bad months still, even if you're doing really well. It's a natural cycle to have hot streaks and cold streaks. And what takes out a lot of agents in this business is poor money management, and having an expense, a nut to hit that's too high. And I've seen super high producers leave this business, that if they had managed their money better and they weren't spending it all just because it came in, they would still be in the business.
Okay.
So where have you thought about that? What's your thoughts on that as far as leaving, having money set aside like a bankroll? What do you think?
I've initially I guess backstory is that before I got into the life insurance world, I had a full-time job making great money, just right under six figures, and
Cool.
left it for another entrepreneurial opportunity, which then took a significant amount of my capital and reserve that I had. And so now, as I pursue the insurance piece, there isn't necessarily, that cash reserve there that I can, lean on if I needed to.
Right.
I'm working the full-time job in addition to doing the life insurance part-time. So I agree, but I guess right. So that comfort level is, what is that dollar value? Because I only make during the full-time job, like $4,000 a month would be all I would need to make in the insurance business to
Good.
really to move forward. Because I've taken, in that time frame, I've reduced all my expenses, so I have no true debt that I have, and minus the recurring rent expense.
Right.
And then I don't have, lead costs would be the other factor that I
Right.
have to consider as well. So, but from a capital standpoint, I guess it's said to have at least 6 months of your rent saved up, would be a good starting point. But is that enough, essentially? Because there is the ebb and flow of the business. And if you're using direct mail leads, there's the wait time on getting the
Right.
response. So it's just, so I
Right.
thought about it. Just, I don't have a plan at this point in time.
Sure. Sure. Like literally an exit from your job strategy is kind of what we need here.
Right. Right.
So we know your monthly number to hit is 4,000. If you can make 4,000 a month, you've at least covered your expenses, right?
Right.
So let's kind of start there as far as coming up with the number. To a point, it's arbitrary, right? I mean, like some people say 3 months, some people say 6 months. I don't know. It's just something that it's a risk tolerance question. What about credit cards versus, having money on hand? I mean, you'll get different opinions as there are people, it's what you have to do is kind of answer, there's that balance. You just got to decide between being ultra conservative and being too risky. You're going to fall somewhere in between. So let's a couple of questions about what it would take to hit what you're making. So describe, if you could, what you're doing you're selling final expense, right?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
What are you doing right now for final expense prospecting? I think you mentioned seminars, but feel free to expand on that. And what's if you can throw some numbers at me, like what's your average percentage close ratio? So if you sit in front of 5 people, how many do you sell, or, that kind of thing? What's your average case size? Can you kind of give me some numbers there?
Right. So average case size is usually about $47 in premium per month. And if I'm sitting in front of 5 people, I typically close 2 to 3 out of the 5,
Okay.
essentially. And
Perfect.
from a prospecting perspective, it's primarily been I was using or buying age leads through the IMO that I was with for a while, but it just became if I'm spending the money on the age leads and there's a tremendous amount of effort, and I don't have, because I'm working in the day, like a lot of time to
Right.
knock on doors and and the leads they are aged, that they have a date of birth on them, or they have the age. And so when I talk to the person, they see this is from 3 years ago,
Yeah.
4
Right.
years
It's like,
ago. So,
well, I'm a little late.
right, right. So yeah, exactly. So I figured I would try the seminar approach, and that's been pretty successful. I have pretty much all of March booked up, one seminar every single week.
Great. All
And
right, man.
and so the numbers from that have been, out of the last 2 seminars, the probably participation has been about 20 to 32 people. And out
Cool.
of that, I'll get about 4 appointments, and then I'll close 2 of those 4, essentially,
Perfect.
is what it looks like so
Perfect.
far.
That's great.
And
That's great.
so,
And for you guys wanting to know seminar marketing, the key thing here is the advantage is ROI, because the cost is so low to put a seminar on, maybe 20 or 30 bucks for donuts and drinks and a gift card. Even if you sell 2 of his average case size, that's over 1,000 in first year commission. So 30 into 1,000 is a 33 ROI, if not more than that. So that's great. He keeps pretty much everything he makes off of those sales. So you don't have to make a lot, right? You can make
right,
2 sales, and what you keep is great.
right,
So, so a couple of things here. I mean, as a positive note, if you're writing close to $600 AP, that's rock solid average as far as like where you want to be. So as far as the case sizes you're selling, 47 a month is completely fine. That's perfect. So you don't need to improve anything from a sales perspective. you maybe not, you're hitting your percentages there very well. And then you're basically selling 5 out of 10 or 2.5 out of 5 of your presentations. So you are converting 50% of your sales presentations into a client or into an application. That's perfect. Those are ratios where you hit close to the average in case size, close to the average in appointment or conversion. That this is what I like to talk about, because now it's like it's scalable. Okay, because what you do at small numbers is exactly what you'll do at large numbers. Very close to it. They may come down slightly. Your close ratio might, but not dramatically. But the point is that what this comes down to, and where you can have faith in yourself, is that with these numbers, you can double your activity, and you're going to double the income that you're making from your final expense ventures. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, by increasing my activity, therefore, I should yield more in commissions. As a result. So
yeah, I mean, if these have been consistent for a month or 2 months, or over a longer period of time, have faith. And this is what I tell agents, that I challenge them. I promise you pretty much sound. And I haven't covered everything, and I've never sat in and saw you sell, but I would have an instinct that you're doing a pretty good job. Okay. And the difference between a guy who does 5 appointments a week and the guy who does 30 is just activity. Okay. He's doing the same presentation as you are. He's seeing the same people. He's using the same companies. It's just, he's got a bigger volume of leads to see, and he's doing more activity to work them. So the good news is you have very little to fix here. Very little. I mean, there may be nothing to fix. It may just be a step of faith. Because if you can do well and consistently over a longer term, the likelihood is higher that it will continue. Of course, like we mentioned, there's going to be ups and downs, just like in any career. And we have to be prepared for those. But if you do the math here, so if you need $4,000 a month, you're writing a 47 average. What's your average commission?
On that's about, let me give you the actual number. So the commission is, as I say, 75% is what the commission is on that for annualized premium.
Okay. So 470, I'm just going to do the math. 575. I'm just going to call it 575 average case size. So you're making 75% of that. Let me pull up my calculator here. I can't do that math. Times one. So that's 430. Let's call it 430 just for round numbers. So that's 430 commission. You get advanced on that 75% most of the time.
Right.
So you're making $320 per case. All right.
Right.
And then let's be even more conservative. Let's extract, let's say that 20% fall off in the first year. Okay. So you got an 80% first year persistency. So you're at, let's call it 255. Okay. 255 per case. So if you do 255, and here's the thing, I'm not counting the back quarter. I'm not counting the 25%, because when we go solo, it's about having money in the bank, but it's also about cash flow. Okay. Cash is king. Cash flow is king in this business, because you have to pay for your lead campaigns. You've got to pay for your bills, the rent bill, the mortgage bill, whatever bills. They ain't going to wait 3 or 4 months from now. They got to be paid.
Right.
So we need to take a conservative path. So know that you'll make more than this longer term, but this is where we kind of have to know our break-even point as far as what kind of production do we have to do in order to cover that amount. So 255, I'm sure you've done the math, 4,000 divided by 255, that's 16 policies a month that you have to do at this current commission level. Or if we look at weekly, a 4-week month, that's 4 policies a month.
4 policies.
4 policies a week.
Right.
So about, on a full-time basis, you just need to sell 1 policy a day is what you're looking at.
Okay.
And here's the thing. So let's work backwards. So it's likely with your numbers, all you have to do is sit down with 2 people to get that 1 policy, right?
Right.
So all you have to do is talk to 2 people a day to get that 1 sale. Okay.
Right.
Again, break even. We want to do more than break even, but But the point is, okay, if you can do 2 a day full time, of course you could do that. You do that for lunch. Why not couldn't you do 4? Right? And then
Right.
you can double this number, right? Because again, the numbers are going to follow. The question that you follow up with is this: what number of leads are going to be necessary in order to hit that? So, how many leads do you need to do to get so many presentations? And that's where it's going to be a little bit difficult because you've worked age leads. Have you ever worked fresh direct mail?
I've worked just this month. I'm getting 2 direct mail leads per week that are fresh.
Okay.
But at the same time, so that the 2 that I had already, they were already closed deals before I even got there. So I'm sure as individuals mail these out, there's other people.
Yeah.
Like the person that sent in the response had closed it in November.
Right.
So.
Right. So, okay. So like with exclusively, I'm going to tell you my experience. To get 4 sales on exclusive leads, you need to have approximately 20 leads a week.
Okay.
So, but again, you got to factor also the cost of doing business in there too. So it's likely you're going to need your current commission levels. You're going to need 20 to 25, probably closer to 25 leads a week in order to hit this number. So 25 at a, you'll probably book, 10, 11, 12 appointments, see 10 of them, convert 5 deals. So then you're doing 5 times your average case size of 255. That's 1275. And then you got to extract the money for what the cost is. And you're looking at, 20, 25 leads is going to be $700. And so here's kind of where things, I'm going to take this conversation now. So, and I promise I'm not trying to recruit you. I'm just trying to give you some thought here. One of the biggest impediments to, if you start looking at the math and you hear me talk about getting fresh leads, exclusive direct mail, it makes a world of difference. The problem is you have to have the upside first year commission to pay for those leads. Okay. And right now at a 75% commission level, there is very thin margins here in order to make enough to pay for your monthly requirements, but then also to accommodate for short-term difficulties. Okay. When your margins are thin, when your commission level is lower than it needs to be, you can't afford to have 2 weeks bad in a row.
Right.
So like, let me give you an example. If you were even paid an average of 100%, how this picture would look differently and what would be required on a different basis. So let's say you're paid 100%. And again, the reason I'm doing this is not just for your sake, but also there's a lot of agents in your position too. And you need to do the math to see what it's like and the difference, because, I try to explain it. Most people gloss over about math, understandably, but the commission makes a big difference because you are carrying the cost of doing business. If you're in a lead program, especially, it's, you got to put the money out. It's your business.
Right.
And having lower ones just lowers everything. So 47 a month. So I think I called it 575. You're paid 100% of that. So that's 575 in commission. You deduct, well, hold on. 575. We're going to get advanced 75%. You're going to get paid you're going to get paid $345. Okay. So you're paid $90 more policy now.
Okay.
If my math is right, I think that's a 35% increase per policy in commission. But it's actually 25%. Never mind. Again, math, not my forte. So you're making $345 per sale. And if we do the math again, you do 4,000 months is what you're looking at, divided by 345. Now you only need 12 policies a month instead of 16.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So you need to make 3 sales. And again, this is just covering expenses. This doesn't count the back quarter which will also be higher too as well. So now instead of trying to hit 4, all you have to hit is 3. And then also it becomes a little bit more doable to actually carry the cost of marketing on you. So again, if you're looking at, let's call it 20 leads, your average price is $650 for 20 leads a week. So if we're doing 345, right, times, let's say 5, that's 1725 you get a week. If you can, again, improve your skills, let's say you're setting, and really you're already there. I guess if you can get 10 appointments and sell half of them like already you're doing, again, don't have to change much. That's 5 deals. And the commission on advance cash flow is 1725. And then all you have to do is subtract the 630 or 650, I think. So you're at 1075. And then for 4 weeks, that's $4,300. So
Okay.
you've covered your expenses. Okay. So that was versus probably around $3,000. Okay. So you're going to have to buy more. You're going to have to risk more of your money at your current commission level to get to this point, which at better commission levels, and you can make higher than 100%. I mean, 110, 120%. I've got agents that do that. There are people who recruit you at those levels that will even lower this threshold to meet even lower. So the moral of the story I'm saying here is that, because you're carrying the risk of doing this business, because you're carrying the risk of investing your money in the business, I believe it's imperative that you make sure you give yourself the best chance. Because as much as we all wish we'll have, everything run perfectly, we all run into adversity. It's the nature of our business. And we have to prepare for the inevitable happening. And the better margins we have, the more likely we'll work through it. Any thoughts on that?
No, that's definitely great feedback, and it led into kind of like my other question was about commissions essentially, and because I've talked to some other agents where I'm at 75%, but there's options out there that are triple digits in commission, and
right.
Is that just based on the marketing organization and the reasoning why versus giving the agent a higher commission to begin with? Or I just didn't understand. I didn't know. So that's because I had done 403Bs before from a teacher retirement perspective, and that was at 4%. So coming into the insurance side, it's like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah,
that's a huge jump in general. So I thought that was goodness, but there's even better now that I realize, more exposure to the industry. Another way out.
It's just, it's all relative. Like what these, and I don't know who you work with, you don't have to share, but a lot of the multi-level marketing organizations is they don't focus a conversation on percentages. They focus it on dollars. So part of their marketing pitch is say, hey, if you've got an average case size of $800, you're making a 75% commission. And they also don't mention expenses. Or if they do, it's an overblown estimation, like you'll close half your leads. Yeah, if you're, some savant, that, it's just a unicorn. Right. Most of us, I could never close half of my leads. I'm happy closing 20%, 25%. So they blow out the realism from it and make it look good. Then you salivate over the 6 figures you'll make working, and don't worry about the percentages. It's the dollar amount, because that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, invariably, the percentage is exactly tied to what dollar amount you make. And when you get out in the field and realize what your numbers are, which you've got great numbers, man. I mean, you're closer to getting this as a full-time basis, increasing your income than you probably realize. It's just making some minor tweaks, whether it's in the sales process, which on the surface, I don't see any problems, or on the commission percentage process. Again, if you are out there, again, to you, all agents listening to this, if you're risking your capital, your investment, the money, your money is representative of the hard work that you've put into your life and your work. And if you're putting that risk out there, you should maximize your return, because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility anyway, whether you have a low or high commission.
Right.
And, I tell agents all the time, man, you got to survive in this business. If you can just survive, you can stick with this a couple of years, things start to turn around. You get better, you make more money, it gets easier, and it's just you got to have the time at bat. If you exit too soon because you don't have the money, because you run into money problems, because you have had a couple rough weeks or even months, it sucks. And it could be your last time in the business. So anyways, I don't mean to rant.
No,
I've been there, man.
No, I appreciate the insight because it's very, very helpful from that perspective and that vision. So, stay the course and keep the focus is important to hear. Definitely.
Yeah. Now we wanted to talk about, I think, bankroll. Is that the one we haven't mentioned? Oh, not bankroll, but the lead expense, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me talk about this. So here's the thing when you do direct mail, the biggest downside to fresh exclusive direct mail leads is that you got to put your money in before you have a swing at the plate. So that means you're probably money in 4 to 5 weeks worth of leads. So if your spend weekly for 25 leads is $650, then 4 weeks is $2,600. 5 weeks would be, $3,250, I think, or $3,225. So that money you're going to get the leads. It's just, you got to have that much to finance it. And then you got to have the money afterwards to keep going. Because sometimes in your right business, you're paid on first draft, not on advance issue. So, I'm more worried about having enough to cover, especially someone like you. If you've got the experience, you can do this. The question becomes, do I have enough capital to fund the correct way to market sustainably for a period of time? I tell agents, 4 to 5 weeks is the bare minimum, but really more comfortably, if you're closer to 8 to 10 weeks, that's best.
Okay. So let me just recap what you're saying. So for that, an agent ideally needs enough finances to purchase leads for 8 to 10 weeks before making a decision to go forward, essentially. Like that's
I would say especially if you're in a position where you depend on, again, this comes down to what your risk tolerance is. What are you comfortable with?
Okay.
Again, when I make recommendations to agents, I'm probably less risky with my agents than I would be with myself. I mean, when I got into this business, I had low expenses, but I had credit cards, and for me, it's hard. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. But I didn't care. I said, I'm going to be successful. I know I can do this. I'm completely confident in myself, and I'm going to take the risk. And if that go bankrupt, hey, hell, at least I could die knowing I tried. That was my philosophy. But when I talk to agents, I don't recommend that. You can do it, but my recommendation is 8 to 10 weeks worth of cash on hand. You could substitute that for a credit card if you've got access to credit. That's something you have to personally consider. I'm not endorsing it. But yes, you want to make sure you've got wiggle room, because again, you have a couple bad weeks. The couple bad weeks could be your first 2 weeks, and if you run out of capital, you're in trouble. You might start getting your pacing. You might start, hitting the, everything just right. And then you're out of money because you're not getting paid quickly enough, and you had those couple of bad weeks. So the more you can create a bankroll, the better. And that's about the point where I feel comfortable suggesting an agent to say, okay, now you can leave, because that gives you close to 2 to 3 months worth of activity that if you get out there and start working right away, you're in a good position.
Okay. And you still feel that direct mail is the way to go? I know you mentioned that, or I've heard on your channel that you have some Facebook leads as well. So currently, from a close perspective and response rate, you still see that direct mail is by far, out of the leads available, the best way to go.
Where do you live?
I live in Galveston, Texas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. Direct mail is king in this business. Facebook leads are fine, but going on convention, all the top producers do direct mail. And there is a level of faith you have to just do what has been proven to work for agents, top producing agents across the country.
Right.
I don't know. Do you have any martial arts background?
From the military, but nothing
Okay.
formal as far as like, Wing Chun or anything like that.
Yeah. So, I do jujitsu, and what's amazing, the similarities between becoming an effective top salesperson and being an effective jujitsu practitioner. Like fundamentals, the fundamentals matter. The best jujitsu black belts are just freaking awesome at the fundamentals, the basic stuff. They don't do a bunch of fancy stuff. It's like the old Bruce Lee saying, I fear the guy who knows one kick in his practice at 10,000 times than the guy who's done 10,000, knows 10,000, but only practiced them once.
Right, right.
And so when it comes to the final expense business, it's all about fundamentals and doing the basics, and if you can do the basics over and over again, then you'll have more success.
And so with the basically be direct mail and then nail in the
Yes.
presentation, right?
Yeah.
Mail in the presentation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, with direct mail, it's just, again, I can't explain to you. I've never been able to explain to an agent why, but this is one of those things. It's like, why in jujitsu do you do an arm bar as opposed to, the anaconda, why would you practice that instead of some weird, move? Well, it's because it's a fundamental movement and it works very well. And it's a high percentage movement that makes your opponent submit, or to submit your opponent. And like with direct mail, it just is a high percentage choice of lead source for the top producing agents. So why would you do something differently than a top producer does?
Right.
And again, I can't explain why, but do I need to? Do you really need to?
Right. If the results are there, it's been proven, repeated.
Yeah. Success leaves clues.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing. This may be your only opportunity to be full-time in this business. You want every edge in your favor. You want the right carriers. You want the right commission levels. You want the right support. And you want the right lead system. Because you may go into this, and if you or any agent cuts corners, I don't want, screw Dave, that's too expensive. Direct mail is too expensive. I'm going to do telemarketed leads. And you get out there and start working telemarketed leads. Yeah, you'll save money, but you'll get what you pay for. And then you might burn out in 2 or 3 weeks and think this business is a racket. I don't want to do this business. And it's all because you made one wrong decision. You didn't give yourself the optimal chance.
Okay.
So yeah, look, if you're going to go here's how I look at it. And I'll quit my rant after this, Michael. You want this to be, if you fail out of this business, you want to say, I did everything possible to win and I failed. And you can hold your head high knowing that you gave it everything that you should have. And you can look back saying, I'm sure I failed. I learned some things, but I genuinely tried. I genuinely tried to make this work. And I know it's not for me. But you'll never know that if you cut a corner somewhere. You'll always think, if I did this different. You don't want that regret. So.
Okay. Makes sense. And then, so on the commission side, I have actually inquired to one of the carriers that I'm contracted with on how to get that higher commission. And so the current IMO has, a 6-month, I guess, hold essentially, where I cannot contract with anyone else for 6 months. So just kind of debating on, the path going forward there, because I primarily write my business with 2 carriers, LBAs and at this point. And so essentially, because of the type of direct express is a lot of the people that I work with. So, maybe the path forward is just focus full time, save up to 8 to 10 weeks of cash to support the lead purchase. And then that time frame, just revisit the business then, as another, when I can get a better commission essentially and get released from those current contracts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing that's nice about your position, how old are you?
39.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're at the prime of your life. If you've got to do this part-time for another year or two to get to the point where you got every advantage in your favor, so be it. I mean, that's the advantage of a part-time guy that has a full-time job. because you don't have to make the sale, right? You can go in, do a good job. If Mildred doesn't want to buy, no big deal. You still got your bills paid, right?
Right.
Your family's not stressing out. Where's the money going to come from? When you
Right.
go solo into this, then that starts to creep into your head. If you are inadequately financially prepared, you don't have the sales training, all this time that you do this in preparation part-time, you're getting better, right? You're going out, you're seeing people, you're selling them, you're improving your skills, you're getting a better read of where in your market are the best areas to go. And you're gathering this information, and there's this kind of, this asset you're developing in your own self as an experienced agent, but also the areas you're working. All the while, it's just slower because it's part-time. But as a part-time person, when the time does come to be full-time, when you're fully comfortable, you're going to have, I think, a higher level of success just because you had that experience all the while.
Okay.
And so I would just advise you, take your time. When I was with Aramark, when I sold for them and I sold Final Expense on the side, it took me a year before I went solo.
Okay.
And, I wanted this time going back in. I remember thinking the same thing I suggested. Is like, I want to do everything right. I messed up so bad last time. It was my fault. I see it now. I was arrogant. I didn't do what I was told. I didn't follow the system using fresh mail exclusively, direct mail exclusively. And I said, this time's going to be different. I want to make sure I got enough money in the bank. So, I know that there's going to be the invariable bad months or weeks. And, I didn't look back since then. So yeah, I think you got everything in your favor. It's just time, it's patience, and making sure everything's aligned in your favor.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that covers, the primary questions that I had for today, for sure.
Feel like you got some value out of this, Michael?
Tremendous value, David. Thank you. Thank you so much, for sure. Definitely. I can see the path forward now, what it looks like from a capital standpoint, and then just, a growth standpoint as well. So it makes sense.
Great, man.
Definitely.
Well, hey, I appreciate talking to you, and I'm going to do my little outro here. So guys, if you enjoyed this training, please make sure you subscribe and like and share this as well. I do these as kind of a new content idea I've been doing. It's been really great, where I interview an agent, see how I can help them personally. Michael doesn't even work for me. This is just something that I did. And as far as helping him as well as you guys out there, because Michael, myself, we've all had these questions, right? And, very much so. It's you got a kid coming in? You got it muted there. I mute mine all the time when I hear my girls scream through the roof. So, but anyways, if you enjoyed this, make sure to leave a comment below. I do these videos. I do twice a day videos now on all things final expense, life insurance, sales, and marketing. And make sure you visit davidduford.com if you'd like to learn more about my insurance agent recruiting opportunities and final expense, annuities, Medicare supplements, and mortgage protection. Mr. Michael, thank you for joining me.
All right. Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. And I'll be checking out your website again and probably contacting you just about the contracting side for your agency.
Yeah, just reach out to me, and when you're ready, and I'll be happy to help you. And I'm glad we got to meet today and accomplish some things.
Continue to spread the knowledge. I greatly appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely, man. Hey, have a good one. We'll see you around.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.